What is breakcore? You might be wondering that as you've clicked on this video, and well, it's a subgenre of electronic music, and you're actually listening to it right now. It is a genre that tends to be a form of self-expression. I suppose you can say a new form of emo music that, doesn't count as rock. The thing I wanted to talk about today is how breakcore has evolved in the past 30 years, which is a weird thought, at least for me, as I actually grew up on breakcore, which it used to be called breakbeat when I was growing up. In the 90s and early 2000s, which I was alive in the 2000s, there were a lot of great, at least in my opinion, songs that came out that were very emotionally expressive, but also in the 90s too. Despite being a 2000s baby, I was raised on a lot of 90s music, and now is my favorite era of music. So I suppose obviously most music today wouldn't really fit into my tastes. But then I found this new music revolution. Thanks to the YouTube algorithm, I found breakcore. I had been resistant to call it that for a while, but since that's what the kids call it these days, that's what I'm going to be calling it in this video. It has some parallels to 90s jungle music, so I'm a bit new to all these new labels. I just knew that my dad played awesome music when I was growing up, and only recently I've been learning that there's these different names besides just electronic music. So the thing I like most about breakcore, or whatever you want to call it, is that it's very atmospheric. It seems very emotionally expressive. As you can hear this soundtrack, at least I find it to be emotive, and something I've noticed recently is that the emo sense of this genre seems to be expressed a lot more than it used to be. Some notable groups that were emotionally expressive in their breakbeat, breakcore, electronica, whatever you want to call it, is The Prodigy and FC Kahuna. But right now we're looking at some examples of what today's music labels of breakcore might look like. A lot of these are my own drawings, and actually this is one that I made for Kuba ZX right here, and I'll put the link in the description below for this particular song that I made the cover for. They did edit a little bit of it, and that's totally cool, and I think it's awesome what they did. But anyway, let's continue on talking about breakcore. So I've noticed that a lot of breakcore songs tend to, these days, have an anime character as part of their aesthetic, and this certain range of colors, which I love, and probably you guys know already that I love this range of colors, as I'm known for, using them a lot in my artwork, especially my digital artwork. I haven't done anything else differently in a while, but this is FC Kahuna cover, as I also wanted to discuss with you guys not just the psychedelic aspects of the visuals of today's breakcore, but also the kind of liminal space aesthetic. And so this is an example of liminal space being used as a form of emotional expression, usually expressing some sort of buried trauma from childhood. A lot of people will impose text on it and have a symbol of their early childhood, maybe like self-expression. A lot of times just a liminal space, this kind of empty space that it feels nostalgic. It feels like it reminds you of a certain blocked memory, and you would like to explore it more. So basically, people will look up these images to help soothe themselves and cope and heal from their past traumas by eliciting a response to get them to possibly release this trauma by reminding themselves of it in a safe space, perhaps right in front of their computer screen, and maybe even with friends around, but usually just in front of their computer screen where they know there's not going to be a family member that's going to yell at them. And this is a random pair of my shoes. Anyway, back to talking about how emo and modern electronic music seem to be going hand in hand. And so I wanted to talk about just the aesthetics that tend to go along with it, how it seems like they tend to provoke early 2000s memories. And so I found these images of FC Kahuna Machine Says Yes. cover imagery, and I realized it was triggering a memory for me, and I realized, well, I have a lot of trauma associated to a certain time in my life, and actually not in the 2000s, but in the 2010s actually. But a lot of times when we have traumatic blocks, it feels like an elusive memory, like it's as if it's someone else's life. I know this isn't the experience for everyone, but this is just from my own personal experience with this kind of stuff, and how traumacore has been received on my end. Perhaps other people cope with it differently. I don't use it as a main coping mechanism. I try to use other things as coping mechanisms, but it definitely helps from personal experience, as long as you're in a safe place, a safe space, to try to provoke those memories in a place where you feel safe and you can feel comfortable, so you can release the trauma associated with such things. So the thing that I guess I always wondered since I was a kid, and I'm actually quite fascinated to see that people are of the same perspective nowadays, at least in the breakcore fandom, I suppose you can call it, is that growing up, it seemed like other people didn't see the emotiveness, or like how, you can be expressive in that way with electronic music. Everybody was very into hard rock, being the form of showing all the dark sides of yourself. And that's what I think is really beautiful about breakcore these days. It seems to be, it seems like nowadays it's starting to become more and more acceptable for things to be emo, despite it not going with the specific image everyone had in 2008. But yeah, so I guess that's all I have to say. I'd be more than happy to discuss it in the comment section below with you guys. And if the YouTube algorithm decides yet again that my voice cannot be in the possession of a grown woman and must be therefore protected at all costs by the vulgar speech that is used on the internets, I'll put a link in the description below for a substitute. In the meantime, you can let me know in my community tab what is the best social media for me to use as a substitute for comment section. Heck, maybe I can make a community post about that too. It's just one singular place for everyone to put their comments on behalf of all the videos of mine that the comment section's turned off. Thanks for watching, and have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it gave some perspective. Thanks, bye.